The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Do you want to disrupt an industry? To do that right, you might want to take an empathetic approach to your vision and your leadership. The music industry has been one of those leading examples of disruptive technology, and we're going to dive into that today with our guest. I'm Steven Sakach here with Mike Liwski. Mike, introduce our guest today.
Yes, thank you, Steven. And definitely for our Bliss Business Podcast listeners, let me tell you a little bit about Andrew Antar and really why he's the ideal guest for the topic today. Andrew, for one, is a visionary entrepreneur, leader, thought leader, and innovative disruptor focusing on transforming the music industry. He's also a Web3 founder, designer, developer, investor, and crypto expert. And if that's not impressive enough for you, he's also classically trained as a violinist. He's the founder and CEO of Tune.fm, which we'll talk a lot more about today. It's a groundbreaking decentralized music streaming platform and music NFT marketplace where music artists get the full value of their creativity and fans like us have access to the introduction of hot and upcoming artists and rare or exclusive content from music artists, icons, and legends. With a strong passion for music, technology, and innovation, Andrew has been at the forefront of integrating cutting-edge blockchain technology in the music industry. He holds a degree from Brown University, where in fact he founded the first accelerator and incubator fund as an inspiration, really, that continues to foster brilliant minds there today. He's also taught himself to code, build large enterprise applications for customers like Bank of America, Ernst & Young, Comcast, and where he was awarded even a blockchain patent. Andrew's on a mission to revolutionize the way music is discovered and played, and to transform how artists are compensated. By increasing music artist compensation through crypto and micropayments by up to 100x compared to other music streaming platforms, he's democratizing the industry. Andrew's visionary approach and the immense potential of Tune.fm's model and vision have captured the attention of investors, and he's secured over $80 million in funding. The Bliss Business Podcast is featuring Andrew because he exemplifies empathy and leadership by empowering musicians to really receive the fair compensation of their work and creating a platform that prioritizes artist and fan engagement, embodying people-centric principles through innovative technology and equitable solutions. So, Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
I'll hand it over to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Andrew, Mike mentioned a bit of your background. Can you share a little bit about kind of your journey? What inspired you to create Tune.fm? Was there an aha moment for you?
Yeah, well, I've always been in music my whole life. Since I was 4 years old, I was a classically trained violinist. I played in many orchestras. I won some competitions. I toured the world with orchestras. And then I got an electric violin and started jamming out, playing with bands, playing different genres, jazz, bluegrass, rock and roll, everything. Joined some bands, recorded on some albums. And I started something called Musicians at Brown while I was there. And it was basically sort of a bulletin where anyone can sign up and just say, hey, I'm a musician, I'm down to jam, looking for a drummer, looking for a guitarist, if they want to put a band together. And that kind of blew up overnight. Out of the 6,000 students, like 4,000 were on it within a few days. It was pretty cool. And that was sort of the seed of the idea where I was like, hey, maybe there's something here. And that was back in the time when the Facebook movie had come out and social networks were growing. So sort of had the idea for creating a music social network. And then fast forward a bit, I did a bunch of things in the software space. I ran a software agency where we build a lot of enterprise applications. like Xfinity Mobile for Comcast. I got really into crypto and blockchain. I actually started mining Bitcoin in my dorm room in 2010. And I ran a hedge fund for 6 years. So I got really into trading and options and derivatives. And so I sort of put together all of these skills, I guess, in music, tech, finance, and crypto to create Tune FM. And there was a sort of moment where I had a aha moment where I figured out what the right business model would be for music, and it seemed pretty obvious, um, at least when it occurred to me, that um, listeners should just directly pay the artist for the music that they're listening to. And so, just in conversation, I came up with the phrase, "When the music gets played, the artist gets paid," and that really stuck. And then I went on a mission to figure out how to make that possible. And it wasn't possible with fiat currency, banks, credit cards. It wasn't possible with Bitcoin or Ethereum or any sort of layer two or any one of the other technologies out there. And then I stumbled upon a next generation blockchain technology called Hashgraph and decided to build the company based off of that. And so that's, in a way, how I came to it.
I imagine when you had that sort of aha moment, the music industry, I think about, I've talked about this in the past, there's a lot of resentment sometimes, and businesses can kind of take advantage. There's an opportunity there when there's resentment in the industry. And you've seen this in the music industry, right? There's sort of this resentment with the artists, certainly, with technology and stuff, the early days of the internet and things like that. What impact do you hope Tune.fm will have on the music industry in terms of creating a more just and empathetic ecosystem?
Yeah, so the music industry is unique in the sense that it's woefully under monetized. It's using a lot of archaic legal structures that date back hundreds of years and haven't really been updated. And it's also a very predatory industry. There's a lot of sketchy business, a lot of scams, a lot of taking advantage of artists. And so when I would hear countless stories over and over and over again of artists getting screwed over or not getting paid, or finding it impossible to break out, and the only thing spinning on the radio is the 10 same songs, and they all sound the same, and there's nothing really valuable about them. They're all produced in such a way for a specific sound. There's not really much art left. And the real artists, people who I know, whether it's my friends or family members or musicians or just people who I meet all the time, always being around musicians, seeing their struggle from the day-to-day basis, and from even my perspective as a musician, not wanting to have to go through that, just to sort of get my music out there and share it with the world. And then as a listener, I'm always trying to discover like great new music, and it's becoming harder and harder, even though the amount of content is increasing, because the algorithms just serve up the same stuff over and over again, and it's really becoming bland. And so I felt that there was a real need to disrupt this industry, and technology as a way of disrupting incumbent industries, that ones that use sort of legacy technology or legacy legal structures, or sort of are under monetized. They're ripe for disruption, and I felt there's no better industry than the music industry to disrupt, because not only would it create such great outcomes for the artists, but it's one of the last like major industries that really hasn't seen its day, and really hasn't had much challenge in the way of disruptors. And Spotify sort of evolved the way that people consume music and pay for music, but on the artist side of the table, they still got paid less and less and less, and that problem hasn't gone away. And so that supply side of the marketplace hasn't been disrupted at all. And so I decided that, if there's any industry I'm going to go into and disrupt with technology, and payment technology especially, it'd have to be the music industry, because I'm an artist.
That's definitely a fair statement there. So maybe we can dig in a little bit more, Andrew. to the empathetic component that perhaps was the motivator here. Obviously, as you've stated, music has been at times at the forefront of disruptive technology. I think of Napster, in my lifetime, as well as the iPod, right, with the idea of being able to carry 1,000 songs in your pocket. So, can you talk a little bit more about how the music industry has not always been, empathetic to artists and to the fans as well?
Yeah, so of course, like the consumption of music and payment for music has evolved over time with different technologies, whether it's the LP or cassette, CDs, iPod, iTunes, now Spotify. And that's really kept changing things. But for the artists, things just got worse and worse. Um, at first, their labels are basically giving advances to artists to record albums. They give them some money, and in many ways, the artist doesn't know that they actually owe that money back. It's more of a loan, and then of course they spend the money on actually creating the album, and then they need to earn that back and pay it back with the streaming royalties. So until those labels recoup their advances, um, the artist is essentially indebted to the labels. And with so little monetization from the streaming, uh, close to nothing, and so little profit left even in touring because they're so expensive and there's so many people involved, it's virtually impossible for an artist to pay that back, even if their album is a major hit. And so they basically become indentured servants to the labels, and everything that comes out of their music, in terms of earnings, goes directly to the rights holders. And they're sort of stuck in this cycle. And then things started getting worse when labels started signing 360 deals. So they say, okay, it's not just the music, but it's everything you're doing, whether you're selling merchandise, you're touring, you're doing meet and greets, you're whatever money you could possibly collect, just being an artist, that's included in what's owed to us as a label. And so then it became even more impossible, and there's no way to make any income that they could actually keep for themselves. So even the most successful artists in the world are not as wealthy as one might think, because uh, what they get for the music is so little, and what they owe to the rights holders is so much. And then the labels end up, on average, paying less than 10% of their earnings to the rights holders. And the labels are even getting a small amount from the streaming platforms. So it's, little tiny percentages of nothing. And the artists really get screwed at the end of the day. And they're the ones actually creating the music. It's sort of like, if you have a restaurant and you have the chefs who are creating the food and they don't get paid at all. They have to buy the food, they have to buy all the cookware, they have to do everything, and then they don't get paid for even doing it. So it's really a problematic situation.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then
great.
there's probably like 10 middlemen carrying that food to the the person who's going to eat it eventually, right?
Great analogy.
Yep.
Great analogy. Now, can you say a little bit more, I guess, about on the fan side?
Yeah, so things have changed a lot for fans, from downloading everything off Napster, Pirate Bay. I remember in the 90s going to the music store and buying CDs, and then records all of a sudden became big. I was on Napster and all that, and then I was on iTunes and had my library, and then eventually got Spotify and all these things. So I mean, we've all just been sort of locked into this all you can eat buffet, which is the Spotify model of, pay your $10, $15 a month, and here's the all you can eat. It's the licensed catalog. That's it. Have at it. And so, it's been great for fans, but it's been terrible for artists. And it's not even the best it can be for fans. It can be way better. There's a global catalog of music that's well over 500 million songs, and there's about 70 million songs on Spotify, maybe closer to 100 now. But there's so much more music out there. It's hard to discover local music. It's hard to get served up new music. The algorithms are not exactly the best, and they're geared towards making money for the rights holders and pushing certain songs. So there's a lot to be improved on both the consumer side and the artist side.
So you can have all you can eat as long as it's just from this menu.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe turning to the AI and the crypto side of things, and maybe how those are starting to come into the mix. How do you see really the industry evolving maybe over the next 5 to 10 years, given AI and given crypto?
Yeah, so crypto really unlocks a lot of different possibilities. The main thing, which is really not all of crypto, but in particular our token running on Hedera Hashgraph, we're able to do micropayments for streaming royalties. So sending a fraction of a penny from here to Zimbabwe is something that's not possible with a credit card. And every country is its local currency, and being able to sort of get in and out of that is not possible with anything less than $10 or even $50 for international stuff. And so the ability to do global micropayments at scale, seamlessly, instantly, with virtually no fees and security, is something that only crypto blockchain can deliver. And only in particular Hedera Hashgraph. And so our token actually does that. So when the music gets played, the artist gets paid for every single second that their music is streamed. So when I play a song from some random artist, let's say they're in, I don't know, Thailand, um, I'm literally automatically being sending money directly from my wallet to their wallet with no middleman. We're not even the middleman because it's fully non-custodial wallet. So I fully own my wallet. They fully own their wallet. I listen to the music, and automatically a payment is sent over. And so that's really sort of a groundbreaking, new capability that wasn't possible before, and therefore unlocks an entirely new business model. So we're more of this sort of a la carte fine dining restaurant versus your all you can eat Golden Corral buffet. So we've created an entirely new business model for the music industry, which is only now possible with the new technology. The same way that you know iTunes and the iPod technology created a new business model, and then with Spotify and when CDs came out. So the payment systems and the distribution technology for the music is always changing the way music can be paid for, and we're sort of the next generation of how music can be paid for.
Gotcha. Now, this question may be getting us a little bit too in the weeds, and if it is, I apologize. But as far as your growth goes, are you planning for early adoption, to transform, perhaps, let's just call them older generations that are accustomed to consuming their music, the way it is today, who may not have a wallet or may not even know what a wallet is, right? Or will the growth essentially be natural as generations that are, digital wallets are native to them? As they come online, then the growth will continue. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when nobody would send important documents over email, and now people won't send important documents over snail mail, and they only trust email. There's a time when nobody would put their credit card into a website. I think it would get stolen. And now people buy things on Amazon all the time. And in our case, with wallets, you don't actually need a wallet. We've done all the work for you, so we make it super simple that any sort of non-crypto native, non-Web3 onboarded, or you know even an older person can figure it out. And so when you sign up for TuneFM, you're just putting in your email and password, and we do all this sophisticated Web3 stuff for you under the hood. So we're creating your wallet, we're encrypting your private key with your password. We have a private key recovery protocol if you lose your password. We're airdropping you tokens so you can start listening right away, and it all happens seamlessly without the user having to do anything sophisticated.
Yeah, so I think our fans are going to want to definitely check that out when they can.
I think back when you talk about your journey, I mean, college and with that sort of music background there, and then you kind of go into this path of crypto and getting into that industry. And I wonder, I mean, do you feel like you have a higher purpose now in your career that you like didn't previously until these things kind of just came together for you? Or have you kind of always approached business that way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's always the drive to make money, and something like, trading and doing those types of things are just very straight up monetary. But with the music project or Tune FM, I've definitely felt a lot more purpose in what I'm doing, and I can't tell you how many times people have said thank you so much for what you're doing, and like even say, what the mission of your company, resonates with me to my core. I got a long letter yesterday from a music industry veteran who was just going on and how he was so grateful and thankful that I was even doing this. And I've heard that in so many ways from so many people, and I mean, it really just keeps me driven to accomplish this goal and to really change the way things are done, because everyone understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the value in music and how artists are getting screwed over. And everyone complains about Spotify and how they get paid nothing from streaming, and all the ills of the sort of evil empire of Spotify and the labels. And we're really the sort of antidote, white knight savior of that, to all these problems. And we're just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about with resentment being an opportunity, is just there's so many problems there and people are just waiting for something to come along, and you kind of have these couple technologies, coming into play that are just making it so much easier. What have you learned about this journey though that maybe hasn't been easy?
Well, nothing about this is easy. Let me tell you. Um, yeah, I mean, everyone's been waiting for this to happen. I've also heard countless times we've been waiting for a platform like this our whole lives, or we've been searching for years and finally you did it, or I had the same idea and could never even think about trying to do this. So glad you're actually doing it. And I hear this kind of thing all the time, but there's so many things working against us, which
Yeah.
makes it astronomically challenging, more than any other startup. I could have just done some sort of B2B SaaS company and get a couple customers and some subscriber revenue and raise 10 million and VC and scale that up with ads and then exit, sell to some other company. And like, that's a very easy, tried and true pathway in Silicon Valley. It's been done thousands of times. Everybody knows, and that's really the game over there. Um, but there's several things that I've chosen to do with Tune FM that have made things, way more challenging and sort of non-traditional. And I'm proud of choosing the hard road every single time. Just the fact that I'm in the music industry will turn off 98% of investors, basically saying, "Hey, like, we're not going to touch the music industry with a 10-foot pole." That's literally what Mark Cuban says. I'll never invest in a music company. It's a disaster. The way the industry is, there's so many. I've heard from another guy. There's so many dead bodies all over in the music industry. Everyone and their grandmother tries to start some music app, and they all fail, like with almost 100% rate of failure. And it's totally true. It's a very difficult industry to sort of break into. Then there's the fact that we're a consumer product, so the table stakes are astronomically higher, like orders of magnitude higher. You need millions and millions of users for anyone to even take you seriously, versus a B2B company. If you have a dozen paying customers, you're really in business. And so, but
Yeah.
with consumer, the also this table stakes for the product are way higher. It's got to be 10 times better, not just sort of solving one little niche thing. You got to be 10 times better than competitor who's got billions and billions of dollars behind them. We're talking about Apple and Spotify, $60 billion market cap, Apple $1 trillion and multi-trillion-dollar market cap. We're competing with the biggest people in the world trying to do something that's 10 times better than them, and they have all the resources to make it incredible, to hire the best talent and everything. Then there's the fact that we're doing it as a marketplace. So just the fact that we're even allowing artists to upload their music. Like Spotify doesn't allow artists to directly upload music and distribute for there. You have to go through a distributor and pay all kinds of money and all these things. And then, we even a small decisions, or they're pretty big decisions, like only allowing artists to upload their lossless uncompressed masters and not MP3s. So therefore, somebody can't just upload a Jay-Z song or a Wu-Tang song, and they have to upload their masters. And so that allows us to have the highest possible quality of music streaming, totally lossless streaming. But that takes a lot of technology and a lot of investment to be able to handle these massive files. These albums are many gigabytes. A single song, a few hundred megabytes. So just dealing with that from a tech standpoint. And
So
then
you
the
need
final
that positive. You need that positive feedback from people, right? Because you're you're going through all this for them, really, to build this. And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it looks
yeah,
simple,
exactly, yeah.
sounds simple, but it's like there's a lot going on here to get
Yeah,
it
and
from
the
A to
final
B.
thing I'll say is the fact that we're in Web3 and crypto, which is,
You haven't even mentioned that yet.
most
So
traditional. Yeah, yeah, I haven't even gotten there. Like most people, either they're turned off by it or they're not familiar with it, or it's uninvestable. There's no regulatory clarity. It's a gray area, and most institutional investors can't touch that type of thing. And there's so many challenges with the technology, and it's very nascent, and a lot of things are broken, and there's a lot of degenerates and a lot of scams and issues, and so it's like every biggest challenge stacked up all together into one impossible sandwich here, and I just decided to go for it and take a bite out of
And we
it. To
and we
continue
applaud
the
you for
food
that.
analogies here, we got a lot of food analogies.
I'm sorry to get hungry. It's close to lunchtime.
I know, maybe I'm
But
just hungry.
well, we applaud you certainly for that, Andrew. And I can just even sense the passion coming through from you. And obviously you mentioned kind of like your mission a little bit. So but you can't just ride just on that, right? To keep it going. I'm sure you've had some success stories. We know you're still in beta, but what are some of the early success stories that you could share with us? Both either on the the artist side or the fan experience. I know you've mentioned the letter from industry insiders, but what have been some of the success stories thus far?
Yeah, well, we've definitely notched a couple wins. Very early on, I met with a guy named Matthew Knowles, who's Beyonce's father, and he basically said, "I love this. I want my entire catalog on board." He's a whole label with thousands of songs and hundreds of artists, and including he has the rights to several Beyonce live albums, and we were able to ingest that whole catalog and put it up on Tune very early on and sort of stock the store with a lot of amazing material, whether it's Solange or Chaka Khan or Beyonce. And I'm able to tell people, hey, Beyonce's on our platform. And so that was pretty cool. And then, another win was when we first started with Hedera. We were picked out as a sort of leading candidate to be part of this accelerator in Hong Kong, and we were able to get 100,000 from Animoca Brands, which is a big player in the industry, and moved out to Hong Kong for a bit and started building on Hedera. A few years prior to that, I had randomly stayed at an Airbnb in Austin. I moved to Austin, and then this woman was like, loved what I was doing, and she introduced me to her friend. And the next day, he gave me $100,000 check. And so things like that. Our first angel investors, Andy Hertzfeld, who co-created the Macintosh, going back in time, and then forward. Now that we've closed 80 million in funding with the token, just sort of came out of nowhere all of a sudden. Um, some people made some introductions, and they said, okay, we're ready to do a deal. First it was 20 and 50, and then there's other deals over 10. And so, all these things happened relatively quickly and efficiently without much back and forth involved. And so I do believe that when you're on the right path, doing the right things, and the stars align, the things will just fall into place. And if you're constantly struggling and fighting and having 1,000 doors slammed in your face, you're probably going down the wrong path, and sort of switch gears. And so we switched from the sort of traditional VC landscape, which had all the, oh, we love the company, we love you guys, the team, it's a great idea, the product, but here's the list of problems, which I listed earlier. And so we stopped going down that traditional Silicon Valley route and just said, hey, Web3 and tokenization is really a new way to finance a startup in a way. You're sort of selling the utility, the future utility of the product with these tokens. And so once we listed on an exchange, we're able to start bringing income into the company and start paying developers and marketers and things, and built up volume over time, and with market makers, and added 20 more exchanges. And it's really like we're a publicly traded startup. I don't know if I
Mhm.
can say that from
Mhm.
a financial advice perspective. We're not actually publicly traded equity. There's no equity, no security. Not financial advice, but do your own research. All that said, um, we're very much a publicly traded startup, and so that allows us to have access to capital. And then when you hit certain thresholds and the token has certain liquidity and certain volume, there's a whole industry of different types of private equity investors in liquid token funds, and they just find you and they come to you. So it was very, very little effort to actually raise this funding, but it was an insane amount of effort to get to the point where it became easy. So it's one of those situations where, 10 years in the making, and then things just happen.
Yeah, things are coming together. That's a lot of success. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I love when I think your idea is kind of easily something that someone can grasp. Like they see the problems with it. But then there's also this thing that maybe we all have is I love seeing artists make it. I love seeing them achieve something they've dreamed about, this kind of positive empathy moment that you can have with that. Sometimes you walk into a bar or venue and there's this person that's not well known, and you're just like, why isn't this person, as popular as they should be? So I wonder, in that regard, are there some cool KPIs here for you, like to help X number of artists achieve their dreams or something? Is there some like bigger picture KPI that you can grasp onto that just keeps you rolling every day?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been at an open mic and heard some singer songwriter doing original stuff, and it's just been mind blowing. Like, how is this not a top 10 radio hit type of thing? And I have friends who I collaborate with musically who are on that level, who, could easily be more famous than John Mayer or whoever, Michael Bublé. Um, and I don't even listen to those guys, but like people who are actually better. And and even my older brother, well, my older brother is a co-founder, but my older brother is probably one of the best singer songwriters I've ever heard. And he's never sort of even tried to quote unquote make it. He's just doing his thing, and he plays for friends and plays for himself and plays at open mics. And I just felt like, it's like, why even try when you're gonna get screwed anyway. To make money with this, it's just art. It's sort of like I like to do painting in my free time, and I'm not trying to sell it in a gallery for $10 million, but I just enjoy painting, and so you could be Leonardo da Vinci and Van Gogh. None of these guys, Monet, none of them made money when they were alive. Maybe posthumously, and so this sort of loner singer songwriter genius person. You could have a John Lennon, just sort of down the street, down the hall from you, doing their thing, and nobody knows and nobody cares. And that's sort of really that's where my empathy comes from, is for those people. And I want to see them being able to earn a living with very little effort from their part in terms of monetization. Put all the effort into the music, but they shouldn't have to put any effort into making money off the music. So just upload the damn thing, and it should start paying you enough to actually pay your rent and put food on the table, not like earning $11.12 every 6 months, that check in the mail that you can hardly buy a sandwich. So I want to see the average talented artist and musician be able to earn a living. And then I want to see the ones who really blow up on our platform being able to earn tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, way more than the traditional music industry pop stars. And so just really being able to um, allow artists to monetize and be successful and all the metrics that we measure success.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, right? So listen to Andrew's point there, right? About just upload the darn thing, right? Do your thing, and you're making it available to them. So Andrew, I'm a little bit curious for other entrepreneurs too, and those that want to start their own business. Can you sum up for them a little bit, like the advice that you would want to give to an entrepreneur or someone who's looking to create a industry disrupting type of business?
Sure. I can't tell you how many times I've seen founders try something for 6 months and give up. Um, Even if you have the best multi-billion-dollar idea, 6 months is a drop in the bucket. Even 9 months. You really need to do something, go all in for 5, 10 years before you can even really vet out whether it's viable or not. And there's nothing rational about being a founder. It's sort of like a I guess a mental condition, if you will. Um,
I feel that.
Rational people do is they go get a higher education and a job and something professional and get paid six figures and have a house and a family and whatever. There's nothing rational about being a startup founder. You have to be a little bit crazy, because you take an insane amount of risk. You have nothing to fall back on. There's no safety net. There's no guarantee you'll ever make any money. In fact, there's a much higher chance you'll lose a ton of money, to the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever you have, especially if you're crazy enough to put it all on credit cards. Put yourself into debt. 99% of startups fail. This is all known. Um, yeah, so you really have to be passionate about what you're doing in order to take that level of risk and operate in such a way that makes no sense to normal people, because you're not normal if you're doing this. And so um um so yeah, if it's like, not everyone has to be a founder, like, I don't necessarily wish it upon anyone. It's just, you're either built this way or you're not. It's in the blood. If you're not a founder type, don't go through the pain. There's nothing amazing. I mean, it's all pain, and then some little gain, maybe, and most likely not. And by that time, you'll be over it anyway. So, um, my advice is, really care about what you're doing. And it has to be a situation where you have no other choice but to do this mission and accomplish this goal, because you're so dead set on it. And if you have other options that are better, just take them. Like, don't even.
Yeah, I really appreciate your point earlier, and I think you sort of encapsulated it around the word pain. But when you said you have taken the tougher road and you could have gone a certain route, but every time you took the tougher road and you've seen it, pay dividends. So yeah, I think that's beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that, with us.
Yeah, I wonder, you talk about this, you need to have that passion in it. And I think I always say you got to embrace some of the uncertainty. You just don't know. Otherwise it's going to drive you crazy, right? You just don't know. You're going down this path. but that's got to just drive you. You got to keep, your nose to the grindstone. You've got to keep pounding it through all that stuff. You listed all these obstacles that you had to go through to get this thing going. So there's got to be a passion there. What do you say to those who say business is business and love doesn't belong in business?
I guess those people are pretty short-sighted. If you don't love your business, then you have no business being in that business.
That sums it up pretty concise. How can our listeners get involved with Tune FM and support its mission to revolutionize the music industry? Where can they find out more?
Well, the easiest way to find out more is go to tune.fm. The name is the domain. Just plug that in, and everything's there. You can download our app. Everything's out there.
And tell us about the Summer of Love tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're really excited to announce this epic drop that's happening, where we have the exclusive streaming rights in perpetuity for one of the most iconic compilation albums ever put together. We have super rare and unheard, unreleased recordings of Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Marvin Gaye, The Who, Eric Clapton, Elvis, James Brown, and many, many more. Some alternate versions or recordings or live versions of famous songs, and also songs that have never been heard before by the general public. And so this is all going to be on Tune FM. We're doing a really cool drop, and then we're going to be releasing the full album for streaming very soon, within the next month or so. We're going to be auctioning it off. And so this drop coming up is a lot of incredible content and sort of preview of what's to come. And we'll be at Nashville for the Bitcoin conference, and we're throwing a big event there featuring female country artists who are all up and coming, all Tune FM artists who have millions of followers, who are really incredible. And we're going to have a good time. So join us in Nashville, join us on Tune FM, take a look, check out the drop, and we hope to see you.
Yeah, I'm in. Andrew, great to have you on. This was another fun one. That's it for today's episode. We will see you next time on the Bliss Business Podcast.